So today's walk, and it was really windy, so the sounds turned down on most of it. Started off at Hartside Cafe, or where it used to be, and made our way up the old Hartside Road. Well, obviously there's the new turnpike from 1823, but can you just see the old that there is the old road coming up from Melmerby, and it crossed over, and you can just see the outline of the old Hartside Road going off up to Hartside House. Anyway, by the by, we walked up here to the gate post where you can see the sandstone with all the graffiti on, and came across to Hartside House, and this is where most of the shafts are on the top here. The Hartside Colliery was in this area, right down into cleugh. So we explored some of the shafts there, the new level, and then we made our way over the hill into cleugh, where you find where the water loose was, and from cleugh we crossed over onto the Northumberland side from Cumbria, onto Stormy Syke, over the top of the hill, over the brow of the hill, and down to where the Gill Head colliery was. You can see the big heap, and the top of the Brighties mine, which is just about there, the Brighties mine. And then we made our way back along the track and up to the van again. There are other coal workings along here that I didn't get a chance to see because of the we were losing the light, but they're all together, if you will. You've got Gill Head Colliery on this side. I'm saying it's Gill Head Colliery, I think it is. That belonged to the owners of Eden Hall, the estate down towards, it comes under some records, believe it or not, as Ousby. And this side of the hill, on the Hart side of the hill, obviously, is Alston Moor, the boundary running across here. Just for a little bit of perspective, that's what they call Jailhouse Corner. The house that you see as you're going over Hartside, it's probably not a jailhouse, but there you go. And as a side issue, the 4 fathom limestone coal crops out down here, and there's lots of little pits all the way down the road, the Hartside Road down there as well. So I've turned the map around now. There's the cafe, and we're coming up cleugh. The 2 water looses that I've found are in cleugh. And also I've noticed by looking on Google Earth something that I didn't particularly see on the fell. Can you see this? Now this is either just a water course or it's an old track. But the point of showing you the map here is to show you that all the old shafts on this side of the fell. So they drained out into cleugh, obviously, and they've worked the coal back up towards the summit, I am presuming. On the other side of cleugh, Stormy Syke, can you see again? Not as many shafts on this side, but they're there. They've worked coal on both sides of the cleugh. How they got it away, I don't know. Is this something to do with it? But again, you can see the pattern of shafts all the way up the fell, all the way up towards Hartside House. We follow it further up, and actually as you're walking across, when you come across this, it just seems like a bit of a boggy area. But looking at it now from Google Earth, you can definitely see it does look like a track, and it looks to meet up with the former Hartside Road there, doesn't it? Well, we've got the shafts coming up the hill. There is one with a bird cage over the top that you can still see. And I'm just showing you here where the position of Hartside House is. There is a big shaft right in front of Hartside House, 2 big ones next to each other here. And then on to the Hartside side of the hill, Jailhouse Corner side, Rogill. See all the shafts on the top again, and then they put the level in down here, and that made production at the colliery a lot better, rather than keep drawing up those multiple shafts. So that's a rough outline of where the Hartside Colliery is. We don't really know a great deal about the history of Hartside Colliery, apart from the fact that it's very old. We've got records going back to 1623, when Henry Hilton leased the pit to Thomas Musgrave for 21 years. Now the Musgraves owned land on the other side of the hill. They were at Eden Hall, Ousby, that area. But he surrendered that lease to Sir Edward Ratcliffe, the new Lord of the Manor for Alston, in 1631. Now we fast forward for 100 years. Henry Stevenson, now he was father of Sir William Stevenson, Lord Mayor of London, who donated the Alston Market Cross. Now he leased the pit at the head of Gilderdale. Apparently at the time it was the only colliery worth the large rent in 1723. These accounts, they are a little bit vague because we don't know exactly whereabouts the sites were, but it just tells us that the pit was working in the 1600s. Obviously there's loads and loads of little shafts up there, and that's where they were at. As we can see also, there's different owners and there's going to be a boundary dispute, and there certainly was a boundary dispute as time went forward. Well, we're just getting a little bit out of sync here, but this is a new level, possibly a horse level, that was driven, and this was in operation in the early 1800s, and this enabled production to rise to between 12 and 13 cauldrons a week. Now a cauldron held 53 hundredweights, so production wasn't great. Yeah, as we've said, there were plenty of disputes having such a close boundary, and we've got quite a bit of information for around about the year 1735, when Derwentwater Estates leased the pit to Henry Stevenson for £10 and 5 shillings a year. In that year, John Westmoreland is accused of removing coal from Gilderdale and selling it in the Eden Valley, as claiming that it come from Sir Christopher Musgrave's colliery there at Gilhead, or at Hasker. Musgrave, he also took upon himself to sink a coal pit within 50 yards of my lord's pit on the southwest side of his pretended boundary. Now that boundary seems to have run from the Currick nigh at Rogill Head to the Currick nigh at Cleugh, but it's plain that Sir Christopher Musgrave is working my lord's waste, so the letter went. And he also reiterated that it was Thomas Musgrave at least Hartside Colliery from the Derwentwater Estates in 1623 and surrendered the lease later in 1631.
Naturally of interest, but next to this one full of water, you can just see this area of land next to it there, a flat land. That perhaps where they've had some form of winding gear, or a cabin maybe. Looks like possibly could have been a cabin. Yeah, no remains of a building there, so they've had a cabin here.
In 1786, now it was the Greenwich Hospital who owned all the mineral rights, wasn't it? And they offered the pit up for 21 years. And it seems from a letter dated 1805 that that lease was taken up by Richard Hudspeth for a term of £10 a year. Now the pit is described as being 6 miles from Alston in a wretched part of Alston Moor, and the lease is due to expire in 1808. It was also described as a very poor quality colliery with poor carriage access, and it normally produced between 8 and 9 cauldrons a week, so low production. But then it mentioned, as we've already said, that due to problems at a neighbouring colliery, again probably the Gilhead side, that wasn't working, and having the new level driven into the Hartside colliery, that production had raised to between 12 and 13 cauldrons a week. And for the time being, that's the sole amount of knowledge we have.
Well, it's deteriorated since last year. Here we can see the crop edge of the little limestone. You can see the water level going in there. Cliff edge is a bit precarious. And there you've got a nice corner end of coal to go at. So if anybody nails short of some of them Monday morning, there's a nice little corner edge to start off with, yeah? There's 2 water levels, and Graham showed me a photograph with one open, and I think maybe this was it here. Certainly been a water level here. It's boggy as anything. It's the best picture I can get of it because of the sun. We are just downstream from the other one, and there's a nice lovely chunk of coal on that bend in the river there. There we are, a nice lump of coal on the bend in the river, just next to where the water level is. That's a bit better view of it. We're just out of the sun's flare. So that's obviously a lower water level. You would say that it fed the pits on the west side of Cleugh. So where's the water level for the pits here on the east side? Both those levels coming out on the west side of the clough. Although the one under the waterfall could possibly drain this east side. You've got Gilderdale Mine in the background. Looking down Coal Cleugh, we're on the west side of the clough now. And I often wonder if that plantation is there to provide wood for the mines, whether for the lead mine or for the coal pits up here. We can see the line of shafts now on the west side of Coal Cleugh. You see them dotted around the hill. I'm going to make my way over onto the Penrith side now.